Grip socks are great, and now they're even better with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Better fit, moisture wicking, amazing comfort, and all the extra grip you need. Choose from 10 different colors for just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
It isn't very often that a pair of football boots comes out, goes away, then comes back and stays, but these did, and for good reason. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nike Lunar Gato 2 that I have here in two of the latest colorways, this one being royal blue and white with orange accents and a gum rubber outsole, and the other being my favorite of the two in black with a single white Nike swoosh, but really subtle purple accents in the stitching as well as on the outsole. This model originally came out back in 2013, was discontinued a couple years later, and then brought back again permanently in Nike's lineup back in 2019. It features a combination of goat leather and hyperfuse for the upper, and of course lunar lawn cushioning in the midsole for what is a fairly affordable retail price of $110. So being that this is a design that's almost 10 years old now, is the Lunar Gato 2 still a good option, or is it starting to show its age? We're going to discuss exactly that in today's video, because this does have some features about it that you won't find on any other Nike indoor models, or indoor models from any brand for that matter. So if you're interested in learning more, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around, and if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you can pick these up below the normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And once again, you guys were asking for more indoor and turf boot reviews on the channel. I'm doing my best to make that happen. If you want to continue seeing boots like this reviewed, make sure you drop a like on the video, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already for more reviews on all the latest football boots of 2022. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Lunar Gato 2, you might have heard me say goat leather in the intro. I did not misspeak. This is not kangaroo leather. It's not calfskin. It is the leather from a goat. And the only thing I could really compare it to is a premium kangaroo leather. It's incredibly soft, has the perfect thickness to it in terms of giving you that nice padded feel. And something that I love about the Lunar Gato 2 in particular is while the leather does cut off on the lateral side of the forefoot, pretty close to the front edge of the boot, on the medial side, it runs all the way through the midfoot. So when you're controlling and passing the ball with this area of the foot, which you very often will be doing in a pair of boots like this, you get that classic leather feel, where the hyperfuse material that is all featured in white on this particular colorway is super thin and actually has a little bit of a breathability element to it. You can see it's borderline translucent, my thumb peeking through the clear parts there. So if breathability is something that you're after in a pair of football boots, specifically for use on indoor courts, or maybe as kind of like an outdoor street shoe, if you will, you're definitely getting it from the Lunar Gato 2. But from a touch perspective, I absolutely love the feel of this goat leather. And you also get that reinforcement of the sandpaper-like texturing around the forefoot and toe box area. There is admittedly quite a contrast between the padded leather and the super thin hyperfuse through the midfoot, but that's something that I think you get used to pretty quickly. And the tongue itself with the central lacing system is mesh-based as well, but has a relatively thick layer of memory foam running through the middle, so it kind of matches the thickness of the leather, which I personally really like. And because of this hyperfuse through the midfoot, when you do tie the laces tight, despite this leather not being overly structured, with really the only structure coming from that nylon lining material and this quilted stitching pattern, you have plenty of reinforcement and structure here on the lateral side, so the boots as a whole feel very secure on your feet and more responsive than you might expect. Towards the rear, you're going to find that the boots feature a fairly standard low-cut design, an internal plastic heel counter, the heel lining material featuring mesh along the sides, and then this really soft kind of microfiber synthetic suede directly at the back, which is not just more durable than the mesh on the sides, but also does a really good job of gripping your socks, and in general, feeling quite comfortable. Nice amount of padding back there as well. Then the insole is fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It's a decent thickness of this ortholite foam, which I actually quite like. And then the top layer is pretty simple in that it just has a mesh liner. As for the midsole, it's a pretty significant element of this boot in that it's in the name. It features lunar lawn foam, which you can see here highlighted in white with these kind of zigzag crease marks along the back, a decent amount of it through the heel, but it tapers quite significantly as you get to kind of the mid part of the forefoot, where there's almost no foam under your foot anymore at all. So as far as indoors go, they're certainly not as low profile as some of them out there, but what I do really like about this is you get a significant amount of impact protection. So if you find that in your indoor boots, you're lacking in terms of your feet feeling like they're pounding directly against the hard court underneath your feet, having that little bit of extra padding from the Lunar Lawn cushion, I think is something that you're really going to like. I also like the fact that you do have a rubber lip to the outsole that extends pretty much the entirety of the forefoot and toe box area, and you also get that nylon stitching for the sake of durability, in that it makes it very unlikely that the outsole and the upper separate prematurely. As far as the outsole is concerned, the Lunar Gato 2 is only available as an indoor model. You can't get it with a turf bottom, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe Nike can do that one day, but if they haven't done it since 2013, I can't imagine they're going to do it anytime soon. And if there's one element of the Lunar Gato 2 that I'm really not a big fan of, it is this particular outsole. You can see it has this wavy pattern through the majority of the bottom of this kind of tread pattern, and then you have these little circular cutouts, I guess is the best way to describe it, and all of these patterns in general tend to clog up with dust pretty easily. The patterns in the material itself do tend to change. You can see on this particular colorway, it almost has that kind of recycled look to the gum rubber, and that there's little flakes of different colors. Where this black and purple colorway just seems to have solid rubber, there doesn't seem to be any discrepancy in terms of traction, performance, or durability, regardless of what material that they've used. I've tried this boot in so many different colorways at this point, but I will say that I don't think it's the best in terms of overall traction, and if you're wearing these on concrete in particular, you will find that these grooves do wear out perhaps a little bit more quickly than you would like. So for me, this is strictly for use on indoor courts. If the court's really clean, the traction is fine. If the court's a little bit dusty, expect to be wiping the bottom constantly in order to maintain decent traction. Which brings us to the weight, where I think a lot of people see a mostly leather football boot and automatically assume they're going to be heavy. Not the case with the Lunar Gato 2. In a size 10 US, you can see that the boots weigh in at 9.1 ounces, the equivalent of 257 grams, which is not particularly lightweight by FG football boot standards, but as far as indoors go, these are definitely on the lighter side of things, and in general, will feel very light on your feet. On feet, the Lunar Gato 2s feel awesome. There's really no other way to put it. The goat leather upper is incredibly soft and flexible. The hyperfuse material on the lateral side of the foot does a good job of adding structure to the upper without it feeling suffocating or like it's squeezing your foot in an uncomfortable way. The heel liner and general shape of the boot, I think they've nailed, especially with that deep central lacing system. And then the Lunar Lawn cushion through the heel, midfoot, and even parts of the forefoot just feels really good. They have a nice flexibility to them, and it's one of those boots that is ready to go out of the box, no real break-in time required. From a width perspective, they have plenty of width to them. This is one of those boots that I truly believe will fit anybody, and because of that soft goat leather, they will stretch and form to the shape of your foot, should they be a little bit snug out of the box. And speaking of snugness, the sizing, they do run relatively small. I would say about 1/4 to 1/2 size. So I'm wearing these in a size 10 US rather than my usual 9.5. You can get away with going true to size if you like your boots to fit really, really tight. This goat leather will stretch. However, because of that raised rubber lip you have around the forefoot and toe box area, they aren't necessarily going to give in length like a regular FG football boot typically will. So for me, 1/2 a size up is what I would personally recommend for most people, but it is totally up to you. Either way, you're gonna have a super comfortable experience with the Lunar Gato 2. So in conclusion, when it comes to fit, comfort, touch, and underfoot cushion, the Lunar Gato 2 is in my top 5 favorites of all time as far as indoor boots go. The only thing that really holds it back at this point is the outsole. I don't think this is a very good traction pattern, and if there's any type of dust present on an indoor court playing surface, you're going to slide a little bit. You have to constantly wipe it off in order to maintain decent traction. If you can live with that, or if you just play on really clean courts, even on concrete, it doesn't seem to be an issue. These are phenomenal indoor boots for $110, which in today's football boot market is actually pretty reasonable. If you're after something with a leather upper, there aren't many leather indoors that feel quite as good as these.